Welcome to the Morning Ping podcast, where coffee, innovation, and community kick off the day. This podcast dives into bold ideas, startup realities, and the people rethinking everyday experiences through technology and grit. Hosted by storyteller Justin Starbert, alongside Ping co-founders Jane Lowe and Rob Witten. The Morning Ping brings a distinctively New England edge to building what's next. Grab your coffee and join our hosts.
Welcome back to the Morning Ping podcast. My name is Justin Starbert, and today, I get to welcome back Rob Witten, CEO and co-founder of Ping. Rob, today we get to welcome a special guest.
Yeah, thanks for having us again, Justin. This is like one of my favorite ones because we actually get to have Jon Kelley on, who is he's an EMT, he's a manager, but he's also one of the very first customers of Ping, a huge supporter. He's one of the biggest reasons we started crowdfunding. He's one of our investors, and one of the people that was just there super early, helping us shape the whole concept, giving us feedback, and really encouraging us. So I'm super excited to have Jon on today.
Well, Jon, I don't know how you're going to overcome that introduction, but we're so happy to have you on. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm all in on Ping and whatever we can do to kind of help that mission along. I'm all for it. It's a great concept, great product, great people, and this is the future, I think.
Yeah, we were just talking offline. I was listening to you guys kind of rehash, I don't say good old days, because I feel like we're still in the good old days right now with the launch of the company, but hearing what it was like at the very, very beginning. Take me back. How did you find Ping? How did you what was it like to see that for the first time?
Yeah, so it was literally like outside my office window. I looked over one morning and there was like this new black and green trailer, and I was like, what the hell is that thing? And then so didn't really think much of it, saw the coffee signs out front, and I was like, I don't know what's going on over there. Went down the street to a different coffee shop, bought my coffee. It was terrible, burnt, threw it away. Next day, drove past again. I was like, the coffee sign's there again. I'm like, what is that thing? Ordered my coffee in the app. Because I work on an ambulance, I never actually made it to get my coffee. I just paid for it, and then they probably threw it away because I ended up 2 hours later at a different hospital somewhere else. So finally that third day, I was like, all right, I'm going to go see what's going on over here. And we were in the truck and we kind of hid off to the side because we were trying to figure out what was going on. And then Rob came out, he had a big smile and was waving at us. So we drove over, and Rob was kind enough to kind of show us what was going on. And you could see the passion in his eyes and the excitement in his voice and all that. And it was like, all right. And then 3 or 4 minutes, he hooked us up with the app. I got my blue energy drink, and then it basically went every day after that.
So it wasn't excitement because you didn't need your guidance or your help with the ambulance.
No. He did offer to help, but I thought for the people, we would be better off not having.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
Yeah.
So when you first tried it, what was what kind of what was your reaction initially? What was that like?
It was pretty amazing. Like the quality of the drink, it was, again, I don't know the name of it. It was the blue energy drink. And I just call it that. The drink itself was fantastic, right? It was a great quality. It was light. It was refreshing. But the ease of use, right? So much in my day, it's like you have a plan and then it just derails. So I'm going to go get a coffee and that doesn't happen. And I love the fact that it wasn't made until you're showing up, right? So many times we just leave food all over the place because it doesn't happen, or you get distracted, or, I think traditional apps, right? You place your order and then you show up and maybe they made it right away because it was slow and it's been sitting there for 10 minutes, or you show up where you normally show up and they haven't gotten to it yet because 30 other people showed up. And now you end up standing in line for that whole time. The Bluetooth connectivity, like not waiting until then, was really amazing technology. Like it was like, all right, this is the future. How do I get involved in this beyond just being a customer?
And Rob, you were in the trailer at the time. You saw an opportunity, a new customer, and you're like, "Hey, come over, come on."
Yeah. I mean, at that point, we were trying to prove product market fit, right? So we had the app set up, and we had the sensors out, and we had this, height adjusting window. But Jane and I were inside this trailer, like, don't look behind the curtain. Hey, we're going to make all the drinks in here just before you get here. So it was kind of it was always a bit of a flurry because, we're not as efficient as robots, right? So, we'd see the dashboards light up. It's like, John's coming. Get the Galaxy Gulp ready, and that would be the whole thing, because we're trying to get it out that window. And as soon as he pulled up, we wanted that thing to open right as he got there, right? And so and that was the goal, and that was the concept. But it was enough to show people what we meant, and Jon just got it right away, which is super cool.
We would take different vehicles to try, because he kept saying about the height adjusted thing, and I'm like, I don't know about this. So the next day I went over in my car, because it's like 3 feet lower than the ambulance, and I want to see how it really worked. And it was on the bottom shelf, and I was like, all right, he wasn't full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
What has it been like to see their journey, from your perspective as somebody that was like, just happened to be in the right place at the right time to see the first couple of days?
It's pretty amazing. Like, when they were in the tunnel, in the trailer, and kind of seeing it, and he described what was going to happen, and now seeing it up in Hudson where it's, the things are on rails back and forth and it's zooming along and all that. It's really kind of crazy to, from my perspective, right, being there almost, day 2, and now it's like ready to explode and go into this thing that is just going to be, I think once it's, it hits that critical mass, right, where you get to, whatever, 4 or 5 pods, and all of a sudden it's just going to go massively, because again, from a convenience standpoint for customers, it's just so easy.
When you saw this, and you guys, because you became everyday regular, and your job requires you to be not just on the go, but fully alert for your entire shift and sometimes beyond. When you saw this and you're like, man, how can I help you beyond just, coming to support by buying drinks? You were also one of the inspirations for the crowdfund in general. What were some of those conversations with Rob and Jane like?
I think it was the 3rd visit, and I was like, dude, take my money. I need to get into this, because I'm like, this is going to be where things go. Right. And so often in life, you miss out on those opportunities. It's, Amazon was huge before most people found out about it. And this is happening in our backyard. And he, described the whole thing with, well, I can't just take your money and everything else. And then I think the 4th time I showed up with a check, and I'm like, take my damn money. Like this, I need to get in on this. Like, this is a multiplier. Like, I think I truly do. And it's one of those, like, the earlier you get in, the better off we are. And then he described the whole crowdsourcing and everything else, because I don't know much about that at all. And then as soon as that email came out, like, hey, we're at that stage, my wife and I, we had talked, we had the money set up in a money market account just sitting there waiting, and then it was like, take it, let's go. Yeah,
that's incredible. Rob, what is it like to hear that? I know we've talked about it before and some of the community coming forward, but for you to actually like be able to sit face to face with Jon and us be able to talk about it.
I mean, for me, it's amazing. And I remember our conversations, like all of them. And, it felt so wrong at the time saying, no, I can't take your money because you're not an accredited investor. And like, only rich people can, it felt so, it felt crappy, to say that. And so to be able to open it up to everybody, like, now my mom can invest, now Jon can invest, like everybody, hell, my nephew is invested, right? So, which also means like we're going to be really good stewards of the money, because these are all people that we're close to and are like not only investing and hoping that it turns into something more, but they're strong supporters, right? Like Jon isn't just an investor; he's invested, right? Like he's like the first one that actually came back and went through the first fully automated experience. Like he was that guy, right? So, and is just constantly there giving us feedback. And throughout the first pilot that we did, he was, constantly like, oh, how could this be better? And, just giving us feedback, not only on the drink taste, but on how the app could look. And, oh, hey, I found a bug, and just all these things, which is super helpful, right? When you're trying to develop something, you need this, kind of flywheel effect of somebody that's like really just going to help you grow and like give you just super honest feedback. And I tell you, it feels great. It feels amazing to be in this position where, we've grown, we've done what we said we were going to do. And Jon's helped us many ways to get there. And those are the kind of investors that we want to have, people that are invested and paying.
Jon, it's not often that I'm sure you hear a thank you for being so candid about your feelings. I know being from Lowell, Mass, it's not often somebody's like, "Hey, thank you for giving me a piece of your mind."
Yeah, generally I get criticized when I'm a little bit too truthful. So it was not usually I have to kind of mute it down, like, "Hey, next time let's try this," as opposed to, that honest feedback. And really it was really kind of cool, and it reinstilled everything was that, it's like, "Hey, there's a bug in the app," or, "Hey, this could be a little bit better." And the next day or 2 days later, when I came back, like, he didn't say anything. It was just fixed, right? It was responsive to the customer. And it was like, okay, that's now better. That's how I envisioned it. That, he was able to kind of go that through and take that feedback and instantly get it into the app.
I always find, to that point, and you're comparing it to Amazon when it was in its infancy, is that, that's the engineering that roboticists that come forward and are tracking these changes to improve across the app, across the operation, across the service, in a way that now your feedback actually is contributing to its scalability in a way where the next pod will have already all these implementations and changes done, so that it is already at that level where it can be delivered. What does that feel like, where you say you want to be there at the ground level, but actually seeing those changes and feeling that, tasting it after it's done?
It's pretty incredible. Like, as soon as I met Rob, and I went on LinkedIn, and I was like, all right, who's this guy, right? I'm like, I want to give my money, but what's behind it? And I looked at the two of their, like, LinkedIn profile, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. They're like, their background is just incredible. And it was like, they've done everything in their professional life towards this moment is all kind of coming together in this product. And, as an EMT, right? We don't really do the high tech kind of gadgetry stuff like this. And it's just kind of really cool to be kind of part of it. Like, to think that, I played a small role, whether it's just the feedback or kind of being that excited by it, and something I truly think is just going to get massive is pretty incredible. I've said it to Rob a few times that I'm like, someone got to deliver that first Amazon package, right? Like, I don't know who that person was, but somebody placed an order, and some person took it off a shelf and drove it there. And like, that first cup of coffee I got, I was like, oh, maybe that's me.
Yeah. When you think about, all right, we're talking about, guys that are lifelong New Englanders, right? Like, it's Dunkin all the time. And, that's really what's out there. Starbucks has infiltrated, to a degree. When you think about that, especially Dunkin in Massachusetts, for example, it's on both all four corners. And then generally, if one of those is full, then they just go upstairs to the other one. So there's a saturation, from your perspective, and looking at the opportunity that's here that got you excited. Where do you see differences, and why do you still continue to choose Ping?
I think that, first of all, it's much easier, right? I love the app. It works you can get right through it pretty easily. And I really think the Bluetooth and not making it till you get there, right? You guarantee that freshness versus again, when it's made, they haven't a chance to make it, as opposed to kind of right away. But then it's consistency, right? I think sometimes you go to Dunks and it's like, okay, this is a good cup of coffee. And then other times you take 2 sips and you throw it away, right? It happens, I don't know, whatever percentage of the time you take a few sips and it's dreadful. So I think that consistency, I think those are the elements that I really, really like and look forward to. Like, the quality of the coffee and the product is just fantastic. That energy drink is just amazing. It's so light and refreshing, and you could taste the fact that it was just made a few minutes ago. Like, the ingredients 38 seconds ago were independent, and now they've been kind of smushed together, as opposed to, it was made 3 weeks ago and it's been sitting someplace waiting for somebody to tap into that device.
Yeah. Rob, I know this has been the vision for you and Jane all along, but hearing somebody, that's sort of outside of the pod, share and explain, like, not that they get it, but that it's now part of what they're doing. What does that make you, feel like, and what does that do to continue to motivate you?
I mean, it feels amazing, right? To have somebody give you the vision back, right? In terms of, like, we wanted to create this super smooth and really convenient experience. And to hear that come back is like, that's exactly what I'm experiencing. That was, the favorite part of it. I don't want to hear customers, talking about robotics and it's like, oh, it's cool because, like there's a robot. No, it's the experience, and robotics and all the technology behind it is just to make that experience happen. And I think that's exactly the right thing. And the fact that it can come from New England, I think, is super cool too, right? Because the other day somebody's like, "Oh, what, did this come from California? What, is there like a couple hundred, and now you're just spreading out here?" It's like, no, man, this is like the first one. Like it can absolutely happen in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Like, this is a New England born thing. We're a New England tech startup, and so. It's something that we can all own, which I think is super exciting. And to hear that is just, it's awesome.
You mentioned earlier, Rob, about, even your nephew investing. One thing about New England is we all know where you live, right? So,
oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, if you can make New Englanders happy, you've done something, right? And so I think, everybody's like, oh, maybe you should start this, in someplace else where, it's the weather's better, or, the people are different. No, like, if you can make it in New England, I tell you what, you can make it through the winter here. You can make it, through the toughness of it. Then, you have the grit to make it anywhere. And so and Jon said it earlier, like, once we get to that critical mass, once we get to, those 4 or 5 pods, after that, it's just it's going to take off, because we're also making this something affordable. So, so people can own it. Right. I think that's one of the most exciting things, under 200K, being able to open up a ping pod site as a franchisee. Like, that's something accessible. Like, guys like me and you and Jon we can scrape together that kind of cash, and we got the motivation to make sure the site looks good and get people there. Like, I think that's just like the most exciting part, is that it's something for us to not only use, but also maybe be a part of as a business, and be able to grow with.
Yeah. Jon, I want to go back to a couple of things that you mentioned, because clearly your excitement for it and passion for paying and your involvement matters to you. So when you think about how your community, and I don't mean like where you live, but as an EMT, it's a tight group of folks that you work with, between the ones in the ambulance, on the fire truck, in the squad cars, and then in the ER, wherever you're taking folks. What is it like to then talk to them and be like, hey, what's ping? What are you holding in your hand? Or, hey, what was that? I saw the truck at the pod the other day. What were you doing?
It's pretty exciting. They all seem kind of like it. I know we had Chumsford Fire up, and I know up in New Hampshire, the Hudson Police have been by a bunch of times. It's the excitement of seeing something local, right? Like Rob was just saying, like, this is here. It's nowhere else yet. It will be, but not yet. Kind of on that ground floor. And then the uniqueness of it, right? The robotics are cool. It might draw you in, but if the coffee's terrible, you're not coming back, it's amazing quality coffee, right? Which is, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. But the convenience of it, the thought of it, that you could get that same. So we do overnights, we do weekends, you holidays, right? Yeah. And the quality of what you get can vary based on a lot of things, right? If it's 11 o'clock at night, are they really going to make another fresh pot in the store? Right. Because no one else is coming in, as opposed to go to the pod, where it's the same cup of coffee that you're going to get 11 p.m. as 11 a.m. Right. So I think that was kind of the exciting part. And, the crowdsource, the funding element of things, again, this is getting in on something early. And, I know a lot of them have looked into it. We try not to talk money personally about stuff. So I'm sure some of them get in as well, but it's just it's a great opportunity, I think. And that's why, like I said, I gave him a check and he's like, oh, I can't take it.
Yeah,
Well,
but he was great about like getting more support there. Like we gave him the little cards with the QR code, to download the app. And so I keep seeing all these vehicles come through with the QR code pasted to the dashboard. Like, it was great. So I was like, all right, our man is spreading the word. It was excellent.
But that said, though, I know you don't talk a lot about, personal finances, but at the end of the day, like, putting in $250, isn't gonna, it makes a big difference to, the folks at Ping to keep the mission going.
Sure.
And, that does give a lot of your colleagues an opportunity to be in there. Is that like something, I don't know, I know when I go to dinner table or about to have, I think we're recording this on Good Friday, so this weekend will be a lot of family discussions about what it is, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Do you hear a lot of those things or talk about that over coffee or in the shop?
Certainly, yeah. I think at this point they don't want to listen to me talk about Ping anymore because I try to go out there and sell it to them. But yeah, no, I've sent all the links to my friends, my families. I'm like, dude, you got to get it. Like, this is exciting. Drive up to Hudson, try the experience. Just don't take my word for it. I think you'll see, if you think about it for a little bit, you can kind of see the future of what this is going to be. Enjoy your cup of coffee, but think about, again, even if it's $1,000, that thousand in and of itself isn't going to change the future of your life, right? But if you get an investment early and you don't know what that becomes.
Yeah. Rob, thinking about all you've heard today and, the feedback that you get, I know it's spring, this fifth season in New England that no one likes to talk about mud season, but it does make it a little bit easier to go back to the pod and keep working now.
Yeah, oh yeah, it lifts you up. It's not only the financial support and all the feedback, but like it is motivational for us, like all day long to hear that and to like, all right, we are on the right path. Now we just have to figure out all the right steps to get to our goals, and then set new goals and keep going. So yeah, I can't tell you how motivating it is. Because some days you have days, like we're just like anybody else, or you're like, oh, this is an interesting week, we're gonna get through it, and this is actually a great way, a good way to end the week for me. So I appreciate it.
Well, Jon, I really appreciate you coming on today to share your experience. All right, for those that haven't tried Ping, or haven't invested, what are your parting words for those folks on the fence?
Yeah, so if you're looking at this in the next couple of weeks, get your butt up to Hudson, give it a shot, right? Try the quality. The drinks are amazing. They're just fantastic. That in of itself is a given. But then, try and see how easy it is, the quickness, the responsiveness of it, and the consistency of it. It's just, it's worth the trip up there short term. And if you wait too long, then you try a pod that's closer to your house because they're going to be everywhere.
Good deal. Well, guys, I really appreciate you joining me today to talk about Ping, your experience, and Rob for sharing all that's to come. This has been great.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for having us, Justin, and thanks for joining us, Jon. This is great.
Of course, all in.
Awesome. I like that. Well, Jon, you can go Ping yourself now. Enjoy your Friday.
Very cool.
On behalf of my guest today, co-founders of Ping, Rob Witten, and our guest today, Jon Kelley, our first customer and one of our first investors. You've been listening to The Morning Ping. Until next time.